Did you know that Crabbe needed to be replaced because his actor was facing legal trouble? And that Genevieve Gaunt moved on to a role you may know. This is every Harry Potter character who was recast. Crabbe was there from the beginning. When we read about him, Draco, and Goyle fighting against Harry, Ron, and Hermione in the Room of Requirement, we couldn't wait to see that moment on the big screen. But wait, that isn't Crabbe in the movie? Who is that? Well, to understand what's going on here, the first thing you need to know is that Crabbe's actor, Jamie Waylett, was arrested in 2009 for possession of an illicit substance. And this cost him his role in the movies. But Warner Bros. Decided not to recast him, instead replacing Crabbe with Blaise Zibini whenever he was needed from that point forward. Wow. Imagine if they just had other teachers step in for Dumbledore when they needed to recast him. Richard Harris enchanted our childhoods with his heartfelt take on Dumbledore.
It does not do to dwell on dreams, Harry.
When Richard was diagnosed with Hodgkin's lymphoma around the release of the second movie, he told the director, Alfonso Cuarón, not to recast his part. And yet, only a few months later, Richard had passed away. Alfonso spent months searching for the perfect actor, and he found him in Michael Gambon. Michael swore that he wasn't going to just copy what Richard had done before, giving us a performance that was definitely different, though not always to every book fan's liking.
Harry, you put your name in the goblet of fire.
But if you're liking what you see in this video, we'd recommend subscribing to our channel. Still, Michael's version of the role has become iconic, just like the child star in our next role grew up to be. You may recognize the first actress to have played Pansy Parkinson. Her name is Genevieve Gaunt, and she's gone on to enjoy quite the acting career, appearing as Willow on The Royals.
Did your grandmother really kill someone?
But if you go back to The Prisoner of Azkaban, you can see Genevieve fawning over Draco after he's hurt his arm, plus a few scenes standing amongst the crowd. Her time on Harry Potter was brief though, as she'd later be recast with Lauren Shotton, and then Scarlett Byrne, who is the only actress lucky enough to actually speak at any point in the movies.
Someone grab him!
It seems being elevated to a speaking role causes a lot of recasts. You'd probably remember Lavender Brown best for the time she dated Ron in The Half-Blood Prince.
Where's my 1-1? Has he been asking for me?
She's being played by actress Jessie Cave here, but this isn't actually the first time we've seen Lavender. She appeared in the background of Chamber of Secrets, being portrayed by Kathleen Cawley, and we saw her again in Prisoner of Azkaban as actress Jennifer Smith. This recast actually caused a big disturbance in the Harry Potter fandom, with some accusing Warner Bros. Of whitewashing. It does seem a little strange that they brought Jessie Cave in right at the point when Lavender became important, but it's not as strange as our next entry. Have you ever wondered who the actor playing Lord Voldemort was in the first movie? His name is Richard Bremer, and he had his face transformed with makeup and special effects to make it look as though he shared a head with Professor Quirrell.
Harry Potter.
When it came time for Voldemort's big reveal in Goblet of Fire, however, Warner Bros. Chose to go with an actor who was a little more recognizable for the role. And so, the next time we saw him, he was being played by Ralph Fiennes.
Things have changed.
The worst part of this scene? Losing Cedric Diggory.
Such a handsome boy.
Don't touch him!
Robert Pattinson stole our hearts as Cedric Diggory.
He's serious.
He took on the role when Cedric became a competitor in the Triwizard Tournament in the Goblet of Fire, but this wasn't actually the first time we'd see his character. Pay close attention to the Quidditch match that Gryffindor plays against Hufflepuff in Prisoner of Azkaban, the one where Harry falls off his broom. Do you see the Hufflepuff team seeker? That's Cedric, being portrayed by stuntman Joe Livermore. Warner Bros. Decided to bring in a more experienced actor when Cedric became a more important part, and so they cast Robert instead. Plus, he was British. It may not sound like much, but as our next entry proves, it's important here. You will rarely see a role in Harry Potter go to an American actor. Vern Troyer was the exception, cast to play the goblin banker Griphook in The Sorcerer's Stone. But it may be worth mentioning that Griphook's voice
And does Mr. Harry Potter have his key?
had been provided by Warwick Davis, who played Professor Flitwick. When Griphook became more important in the Deathly Hallows Part 1 and 2, Warner Bros. Chose not to bring Vern Troyer back, but to have Warwick Davis take over the role entirely. That probably makes sense, since Warwick was doing the voice already. And speaking of characters with amazing voices, these were two entirely different versions of the character. Elizabeth Spriggs played the fat lady in The Sorcerer's Stone, and although she's only had one line,
"Password,"
she's best known for portraying matronly types. Chris Columbus first saw Dawn French in a Harry Potter spoof for charity.
No, I can't. I'm filming.
And though she was absolutely hilarious, he brought her in to take over the role in The Prisoner of Azkaban.
Amazing! Just with my voice!
Dawn knows as well as Domhnall Gleeson, sometimes it's all about being in the right place at the right time. Bill is easily the coolest Weasley you almost forgot about. We first see him in a group photo of all the Weasleys standing together in Prisoner of Azkaban, portrayed by actor Richard Fish. We don't see Bill again until The Deathly Hallows Part 1, where he's been recast as Mad-Eye Moody actor's son, Domhnall Gleeson. He was just visiting his dad on the set.
Which is amazing, because I was a huge Harry Potter fan, and I was like, oh no, Daniel Radcliffe.
When he was asked to serve as a stand-in,
because I looked so much like the Weasley twins.
This led to him getting the job shortly afterward. Guess this isn't the only time they didn't realize how important a character was going to be later on. If it weren't for Helena Ravenclaw, Harry would have had no way of defeating Voldemort. She told him where to find Ravenclaw's lost diadem, even though before that, we'd only known her for haunting the halls of Hogwarts as the Grey Lady. Nina Young was the first brought into the role in The Sorcerer's Stone, but when it came time for her to save the day in Deathly Hallows Part 2, Warner Bros. Decided to cast a more experienced actress in Kelly MacDonald. If you faced a boggart, what would it become? You may remember Parvati's for transforming into a giant snake before she ridiculoused it into an even scarier giant clown. This scene shows Parvati Patil being played by Sitara Shah, who can also be seen sitting across from Parvati's best friend, Lavender, during divination class. The next time that we see her is when Harry takes her to the Yule Ball in Goblet of Fire, and by this point, she's been recast with Shefali Chaudhry, who isn't the only date who was replaced for the Yule Ball. She's a legend on the Quidditch field. Angelina Johnson was one of 3 chasers on the Gryffindor team, and you can see her dominating the game in the first 3 movies, where she was played by Daniel Tabor. When Fred asks Angelina to the Yule Ball in the Goblet of Fire, however, that isn't Danielle playing her. She had actually been replaced with Tiana Benjamin. Funnily enough, only Danielle would go on to reprise the role after this movie. You can see her in the Harry Potter and the Forbidden Journey ride at the Universal Studios theme parks. Katie Bell is the second of the 3 chasers on the Gryffindor Quidditch team. You can see her on the field in the first 2 movies being played by Emily Dale. She was sort of left in the background for the most part. That is, until the Half-Blood Prince, when Katie touches a cursed necklace that was meant to be given to Dumbledore. For her big moment, Emily Dale was replaced by actress Georgina Leonidas, who's actually gone on to have a successful career acting on stage. Elphias Doge wasn't given a whole lot of time to shine. He was with the Order of the Phoenix when they took Harry to 12 Grimmauld Place, being played by Peter Cartwright, but he didn't have anything to say. It wasn't until Bill and Fleur's wedding in the Deathly Hallows Part 1 that Harry actually sat down to talk with Elphias.
Mr. Potter, by all means. Here.
And at this point, Peter had been replaced with David Ryle for unknown reasons. Do you remember Alicia Spinnet? She was off in the background, but never seemed to get any lines. She's best friends with Katie Bell and Angelina Johnson, and you could often see her dominating the Quidditch field. The first time we see her is during a match in The Sorcerer's Stone, where she's played by Lila Sutherland, an actress who would already be replaced by the very next movie. In The Chamber of Secrets, we see Alicia being played by Rochelle Douglas. Between legal trouble and actual deaths, there was a lot of shuffling around to the cast of Harry Potter. Which version of these characters would you have to say that you prefer? And were there any examples that missed your notice entirely? We're all fans of magic here, so make sure to join us in the conversation in the comment section down below.